How to teach someone to swim from 1 meter to 10 meters. Depth. It's been over 2 decades since I first started teaching people how to dive into the deep end. And along the way, I've discovered some simple techniques that help students feel more comfortable around deep water. The key is to move from shallow to deep in small increments. So let's get into it, starting with step No. 1. Get them comfortable getting their face wet. When teaching somebody who's never had any swimming lessons at all, one of the first things we want to do is teach them how to get their face wet. That means either learning how to submerge their whole head underwater, or to just get comfortable putting their face in the water. This is particularly true if you're teaching an adult. For example, somebody who's 45 years old and has never had any swimming lessons. They have a lot more anxiety getting their face wet than a 10-year-old. Kid who's maybe never had any swimming lessons but has been around water for quite a while. The kid will be fine because they're not really thinking about what could go wrong. Whereas an adult like that, 45-year-old is going to be thinking about all sorts of scenarios where they could drown, they could die, all sorts of stuff, because they've heard this stuff all their life. So with adults, you've got to spend a little bit more time making sure they understand that there's no danger when you get your face wet. Now for a 10-year-old who's never had any swimming lessons, it's probably going to take about 15 minutes to get them comfortable getting their face wet. With an adult, you might have to spend half an hour to an hour just doing this. It really depends upon how much time you can spend with that person. But make sure that they're comfortable with getting their face wet before you progress to the next step. Which takes us to step No. 2. Learning how to blow bubbles. Learning how to blow bubbles is a great way to allow the student to work on submerging their whole head underwater. When you're blowing bubbles, you're taking a nice big breath in through the nose, filling up the lungs, closing the nose, keeping the mouth shut, and then exhaling out the nose so that the water doesn't come in. And as you're exhaling, you're actually pushing the air down and pushing the water out. So if you exhale hard enough, you'll see a stream of bubbles coming out of your nose. You can also do the same thing by holding your breath, putting your face in the water, closing your nose, exhaling out the nose. But you don't really need to hold your breath for this exercise. So that's why it's better to just breathe normally. Take a big breath in, and then blow the air out. As you're doing this, make sure that you're re-engaging the core muscles to prevent your upper body from rising up when you exhale. Once they start feeling confident with this, then we can move on to step number 3. Step No. 3. Learning how to submerge their whole head underwater. This part is pretty simple once the student is comfortable blowing bubbles. I usually have them try to touch the bottom of the pool with their nose, which will encourage them to tuck their chin down and lower their forehead into the water. It should look something like this. If they struggle with this, then I'll have them put their face in the water and try to make their eyes as level as possible with the water surface. I'll also have them attempt to touch the bottom of the pool with their nose while keeping this position. In a matter of minutes, they should be able to comfortably submerge their whole head underwater. Now we can move on to step No. 4. Step number 4. Learning how to take a breath underwater. One thing you need to teach them is that it is important to inhale as fast as possible so that they have the most amount of oxygen before their whole head goes underwater. This is another way to reduce the amount of anxiety that the student feels about being underwater. Because if they have less air in their lungs, then they're going to feel more panicked about the situation. So you want to make sure they understand that they have plenty of air in their lungs before continuing. Once they're good with that, then you can have them practice the whole process in a progression starting at the shallow end of the pool. The progression looks something like this. Nice big breath in through the nose, submerge the whole head underwater, take a big breath in through the nose, open the mouth to exhale, then open the nose to inhale again, then close the nose, open the mouth, and exhale again. It's time without surfacing. The goal here is to have them stay under the water for about 10 seconds. And then after that, you can have them relax and float on their back until they're ready to repeat. Once they become more comfortable, you can lower the platform or bring them deeper into the pool so that they have to stay under for a few seconds longer. Eventually, they'll be able to stay underwater for up to 30 seconds. And at this point, we can move on to the next step. Step number 5, equalizing the ears. Before we can go any deeper, we need to make sure that they know how to equalize their ears. This is especially important if they're diving off the 3-meter springboard or higher. I usually demonstrate this by placing my thumb on my right ear and pinching my nose so that I couldn't equalize my ears. Then I start to take a big breath in, hold it, and then slowly go underwater. What you should notice here is that as I start to go underwater, the pressure starts to build up in my ear, and it hurts. If I could equalize my ears, it wouldn't hurt. So the exercise would be completely fine. Because I can't equalize my ears in this scenario, though, I feel more and more pain. And as soon as I get the signal that my ears are hurting, I pop back up to the surface. Then I repeat the process on the other side. And once I'm done with that, I do both sides again, but this time I add one more breath hold and go down a little bit further. Every time I come back up to the surface, I ask the student, "Did you feel anything in your ears?" And if they say yes, then I tell them that's the pressure building up in your ears. So now we have to work on equalizing our ears. Once they understand this concept, then I show them how to equalize by pinching the nose, taking a breath, releasing the pressure from the nose, and exhaling out the nose. If that doesn't work, then we'll try the Valsalva maneuver, which is pinching the nose and forcing air out of the nose. It should feel something like this. Okay, now that we know how to equalize our ears, we can move on to the next step. Step No. 6. Diving into the deep end. You want to give the student a few demonstrations of what you want them to do before having them attempt it themselves. Here's what it should look like. Take a nice big breath in through the nose, submerge the whole head underwater, take a big breath in through the nose, open the mouth to exhale, then open the nose to inhale again, then close the nose and exhale again. After a couple of attempts, the student should be able to dive down to the bottom of the pool without any problems. At this point, we've successfully transitioned from 1 meter to 10 meters depth. Congratulations! If you found this video useful, please remember to subscribe. And if you'd like to learn more about how to dive into the deep end, you can watch this video.